The floor manager swatted my drink away and emptied my booth to seat a well-known actress. Celebrities only, not someone in a t-shirt. You need to leave. I shot off a message to the board. Minutes later the executive chef shut down every burner, rallied the team, and turned to me, "Boss, we're done here. No one's cooking for her." Can you imagine someone looking you dead in the eye, smirking, and deliberately dumping a pitcher of ice water all over you? He thought I was nobody, just some random guy in a t-shirt, an easy target for humiliation. Oh, if only he knew who he was really messing with. My blood absolutely boiled in that moment. The icy water hit my chest like a punch, a shocking, deliberate cold. Those little ice cubes skittered across my faded gray t-shirt, then clinked, clinked, clinked on the polished marble floor. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked down at the growing wet stain, at the cubes melting at my feet, at the remains of my $38 burrata appetizer, that beautiful, fresh burrata with heirloom tomatoes, sliding off the table and into the puddle. Standing over me, pitcher still in hand, was Victor Dubosi, the manager. His smirk was sickening. "Oops, how clumsy of me," he drawled, his voice dripping with condescension. He had no idea. "See, I'm Ethan Blackwood. I'm 41 years old, and I own 7 high-end restaurants across 3 states, pulling in about $47 million a year. We've got 4 Michelin stars, 6 James Beard nominations. And that night, I was eating at one of my own restaurants undercover. Just me, a faded gray t-shirt from Target, old Levi's, and white Adidas sneakers. And Victor, who I'd hired just 8 months ago on a consultant's glowing recommendation, paying him $140,000 plus bonuses, had just poured water on me. "Victor, what's the problem?" The voice cut through the stunned silence like a knife. It was Serafina Vance, the actress, currently filming some superhero sequel in Atlanta. Her IMDb page estimated her net worth at $32 million. Her entire entourage, publicist, assistant, bodyguard, formed a human wall, blocking the aisle. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, paparazzi cameras flashed like crazy. "No problem at all, Miss Vance," Victor said, his French accent suddenly thicker, oozing charm. He turned back to me, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "This gentleman was just leaving." "I have a reservation," I said, my voice calm, almost too calm. My hands stayed flat on the table. Didn't shake. Didn't clench. Table 12. 8 o'clock, name's Blackwood. "Not anymore." Victor grabbed my plate. The burrata I'd barely touched. Those heritage tomatoes that cost us $8.50 a pound from a specialty organic farm. "This table is for VIP guests. You're wearing a t-shirt and sneakers. You clearly don't belong here." The dining room went dead silent. 68 seats on a Thursday night, fully booked at an average of $185 per person. Every single head turned. Every conversation died. "I booked this table 2 weeks ago," I stated. "Confirmed it yesterday. Prepaid the deposit." Victor leaned in close. His breath reeked of cigarettes and the espresso he'd been sneaking in the kitchen. "I don't care if you booked it 2 years ago. Miss Vance wants this table. She has 12 million Instagram followers. She's important. You're nobody." He snapped his fingers at Carlos, a busboy. "Carlos, clear this now." Carlos, a 22-year-old who'd been with us for 3 years, saving for nursing school, looked at me, then at Victor. His hands hesitated. "Now!" Victor barked. Carlos started clearing, his eyes meeting mine. "Sorry," his expression pleaded. Serafina laughed. A high, bright sound like crystal shattering. "Finally, someone who actually knows how service works. Do you know how many restaurants treat regular people better than celebrities? It's exhausting. She plopped down in my chair before Carlos had even finished wiping the water. Victor tossed a wet napkin onto the table in front of me. "You're making a scene. Leave before I call security." "I'm wet," I said quietly. "You spilled water on me. You spilled it on yourself." The lie came out smooth, practiced. Clumsy people shouldn't dine at establishments like this. Perhaps try Applebee's. I hear they're very accommodating. The lie hung in the air. Everyone had seen what happened, but no one said a word. Because that's how it works when you're nobody in a t-shirt and the person across from you has money and fame and a publicist taking notes. "I'd like to speak to the owner," I said. Victor's smile widened. "The owner doesn't speak to people like you. He's a very busy man. Very important. Now get out before you embarrass yourself further." I needed to understand something. Needed to see how far this went. So I asked, "What if I can't afford another meal tonight? What if this was a special occasion?" "Then you shouldn't have chosen a restaurant above your means." He gestured to my clothes. "Everything about you screams discount store. This is a temple of cuisine, not a soup kitchen." Someone at the next table, a woman draped in Chanel and diamonds, actually laughed into her wine glass. "Victor," I said, my voice low. "Last chance. I need to speak to your supervisor." "I am the supervisor. I am the authority here, and I'm telling you to leave." I reached into my pocket. My phone was bone dry. Thank God for the OtterBox case. "What are you doing?" Victor demanded. "Are you recording this? Give me that phone. This is a private establishment. I'll have you arrested for." He lunged for it. I pulled back. "Don't touch me." "Security!" Victor bellowed. But I'd already opened my messages. One contact, one name at the top of my favorites, exec board emergency. This was a group text I'd set up 3 years ago, connecting all 7 of my head chefs, all 7 managers, my CFO, my operations director, and my head of HR. We'd never used it. It was designed for exactly one scenario. Code black. Complete operational shutdown. I typed 4 words, "Close it. Fire. Victor." My thumb hovered over "send" for exactly 2 seconds. Because this was nuclear. This was scorched earth. This was 38 employees going home early, 68 disappointed guests, thousands in lost revenue, and the kind of disruption that would make the food blogs go insane. But I'd seen enough. "Send." Victor grabbed my arm. His fingers dug into my bicep. I said, "Give me that." His phone buzzed. Then every manager's phone in the restaurant buzzed at once. A sharp, angry cascade of notification sounds sliced through the classical music playing over the speakers. Victor froze. His grip loosened. He pulled out his phone. His face went white. Actually white, like someone had drained all the blood. "What?" Serafina demanded, looking up from the menu. "What's wrong?" Victor stared at the screen, his hand shaking so badly, the phone almost slipped from his fingers. The message on his screen. I knew exactly what it said, because I'd watched our IT director program it last year. Code black activated. All operations cease immediately. Owner directive. Restaurant closure. Manager Victor Dubosi. Terminated. Effective immediately. Do not serve. Do not cook. Do not clean. Await further instructions. Then the kitchen doors burst open. Chef Julian Thorne walked out. 6'3", 240 pounds, tattooed arms visible under his rolled-up sleeves, white apron covered in sauce stains from dinner service. 22 years cooking professionally. 11 years with my restaurants. A Culinary Institute of America graduate, winner of the 2019 Atlanta Chef of the Year award. Behind him came the sous chefs, the line cooks, the pastry team, the prep cooks. Everyone. 18 people in chef's whites, marching out of the kitchen in formation. They were untying their aprons. "Julian!" Victor shouted, his voice cracking. "What are you doing? Get back in the kitchen. We have orders." Julian didn't even look at him. He walked straight to my table, to me. To the man in the wet t-shirt sitting in a puddle of water. Then he bowed. A formal, respectful bow, the kind you see in high-end Japanese restaurants. "Mr. Blackwood," Julian said, his deep voice carrying across the now silent dining room. "We received the code black notification. The stoves are off. The gas lines are shut down. The staff is clocked out." He turned to Victor, his expression stone. "We don't work for people who humiliate our boss." Victor's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. Serafina stood up fast, her chair scraping, knocking over her wine glass. A 2015 Chateau Margaux. $340 a bottle. Red liquid spread across the white tablecloth like blood. "Boss? He can't be the owner." I finished. I stood up slowly, water still dripping from my shirt, ice cubes still melting at my feet. "Ethan Blackwood. I own this restaurant, and 6 others. Lotus Garden in Charlotte, Ember and Oak in Nashville, The Pearl in Savannah, Meridian in Charleston, Copper and Sage in Birmingham, and Harvest Moon in Athens." I looked at Victor. At his ghost-white face, his shaking hands, at the dawning, horrific understanding in his eyes. "I dress like this when I visit my restaurants," I said quietly. "To see how staff treats people. How they treat people who don't arrive in Maseratis, who don't have publicists, who don't have 12 million followers." "Mr. Blackwood," Victor stammered. "I didn't know. I couldn't have known." "Exactly," I said. "You didn't know. So, you treated me like garbage." I turned to Julian. "Kill the lights. Lock the doors. We're done here." "Yes, chef." Julian snapped his fingers. The kitchen staff moved like a choreographed dance. The pendant lights over the tables dimmed. The recessed lighting faded to black. The music cut off mid-note. The gas lines to the stove shut down with an audible click, click, click. It sounded like a countdown. Someone gasped. A woman's voice. "What's happening?" "We're closing," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Effective immediately. Due to management misconduct." Victor fell to his knees. Literally fell. His expensive slacks, a Gildo Zegna, I'd approved his uniform allowance, hit the wet marble. "Please, please, Mr. Blackwood. I have a family. I have a mortgage. I'll apologize. I'll do anything. You judged me by my clothes," I said. "Now, let me judge you by your character." I turned to address the entire dining room. 68 faces, some angry, some confused, some, like the woman in Chanel who'd laughed, looking distinctly uncomfortable. "Now, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disruption. Your meals tonight are complimentary. My CFO will process full refunds within 48 hours. I take full responsibility for this situation." Then I looked at Serafina Vance. At her designer dress, at her entourage, at her face, pale with shock, and the dawning realization that she had just participated in something truly ugly. "Miss Vance, there's a McDonald's 3 blocks down. I hear they don't discriminate based on t-shirts." I walked toward the exit. The entire kitchen staff followed me. Carlos too, and the other servers, and the hostess, and the sommelier. We walked out together. Behind us, in the darkness of the now-closed restaurant, I heard Serafina's voice, confused. Wait, what just happened? I kept walking. Outside on the sidewalk, Julian fell into step beside me. Boss, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was expensive, I said. Worth every penny. Maybe. Maybe not. I'd find out when my CFO calculated the damage tomorrow. But I needed to back up. Needed to explain how we got here, because this wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. 3 years ago, I'd made a promise. After an incident at my Charlotte location, Lotus Garden, where I'd watched a manager throw out a homeless man who'd saved up for weeks to buy his daughter a birthday dinner. The man had $63. The cheapest entree was $18. He'd asked quietly if they could split one meal. The manager had called security, had the man removed, humiliated him in front of his daughter. I'd been there, watching, and I'd done nothing because I'd been on the phone with a supplier. By the time I looked up, they were gone. I never found them. Never got to apologize. Never got to make it right. So, I made a promise. I would visit every restaurant undercover, dressed like a regular person, and I would see, truly see, how my staff treated people. Most of my employees passed. Most were kind, professional, treated everyone with respect. But not all. In Nashville, a server refused to seat an elderly black couple near the windows. Said those tables were for our regular clientele. I fired her on the spot. In Savannah, a bartender watered down drinks for customers he deemed cheap tippers. Gone. In Charleston, a host made fun of a customer's accent. She lasted 30 minutes after I overheard. But Victor was different. Victor was cruel. And he'd been getting away with it. I'd had complaints. 3 in the last 2 months. 1 from a customer service email. 2 from anonymous Google reviews. Manager was incredibly rude to anyone not dressed in designer clothes. Felt like I was being judged from the moment I walked in. Made to feel inferior. Beautiful food. Terrible service. Manager clearly plays favorites. I'd asked my operations director, Ava Ramirez, 15 years in hospitality management, MBA from Cornell, to investigate. She'd done a week of phone interviews, mystery shopping, staff surveys. Her report, delivered last Tuesday in my Atlanta office, was damning. Victor Dubosi is creating a toxic culture. He's excellent with VIPs, terrible with everyone else. Staff are afraid to complain because he's fired 2 people for poor performance after they questioned his methods. Recommend immediate termination pending investigation. I'd thanked her, filed the report, and decided to see for myself. So, here I was, Thursday night, 8 o'clock, dressed like I'd just walked out of Target, waiting to see what Victor would do. He'd exceeded my worst expectations. The staff and I walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop, Deja Brew, open until midnight. We filled every table. Julian ordered for the group, 23 people, all in chef's whites or server uniforms. Can we get coffee for everyone and whatever pastries you have left? He asked. Put it on my card. Put it on mine, I corrected. Company expense. The barista, a college kid with blue hair and tired eyes, looked at our group. Are you guys okay? You look like you just escaped something. We did, Julian said. I pulled out my laptop, opened the shared drive where all restaurant surveillance footage lived, found today's date, found the timestamp, 7:47 p.m. The video showed everything. Victor grabbing the water pitcher. Victor accidentally on purpose tipping it onto my shirt. Victor's smirk. Victor's words. No audio, but his lips were clear enough for anyone who could read them. I exported the clip, sent it to Ava Ramirez and to our head of HR, Ben Carter, 23 years in human resources law, currently handling 3 other termination cases. My phone rang immediately. It was Ava. "I'm watching it now," she said. "This is assault and battery. We need to file a police report tomorrow." "Tonight," I said. "I need to handle the staff. The board is going to want a full accounting." "They'll get it." "How much did we lose tonight?" I heard typing. "Rough estimate, $18,000 in revenue. Food cost around $4,200. Labor was already paid. Biggest loss is reputation. Can you draft a press release?" "Already working on it. Want to position this as a stand against discrimination and classism?" "Yes. And Ava, I want Victor blacklisted. Every restaurant group we're connected with, every hospitality network. He doesn't work in fine dining again. That's aggressive. He poured water on a customer, then lied about it, then tried to have security remove them. If I hadn't been the owner, he'd have gotten away with it." Silence. "Then, I'll make the calls." I hung up, looked at my staff. 23 people who'd walked out with me, who'd shut down a fully booked service, who'd chosen loyalty over paychecks. "Everyone listen," I said. "You're all getting paid for a full shift tonight, plus a $500 bonus for each of you, plus tomorrow off. Paid." Cheers. Applause. "What about Victor?" Carlos asked. "Is he really fired?" "Effective immediately. He'll never manage another one of my restaurants." "Good," said Maria, one of the senior servers, 53 years old, 28 years in restaurants. "He told me last week that I was aging out of front of house. Said I should consider retiring before I embarrass myself." My jaw clenched. "Why didn't you report that?" "He's the manager." "Who was I supposed to report him to?" "Me. Always me. Anyone in this company can reach me directly." I pulled out my business cards, started handing them out. "My personal cell, my email. You see something wrong, you tell me. No retaliation, no consequences. I promise." Julian cleared his throat. "Boss, there's more. Victor's been skimming." Everyone went quiet. "Explain," I said. "He's been adding phantom reservations, booking tables under fake names, then seating walk-ins and pocketing the deposits." "How long?" "At least 4 months, maybe longer." "How much?" "We think around $30,000. My hands clenched into fists. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "He said, you knew. Said it was an approved practice to maximize revenue." I closed my eyes, breathed. "It's not approved. It's theft. And I'm going to prosecute." I called Ava back. "Add fraud to the list. Julian says Victor's been skimming deposits. I need a forensic audit tonight. I'll get our accounting firm on it. This is going to be a long night for all of us." Next call was to our lawyer, Sarah Miller, 18 years in employment law, partner at Morrison & Associates. She answered on the second ring. "Ethan, I heard." Ava briefed me. "I'm already drafting the termination documents. I want a police report filed. Assault, battery, fraud, everything. That's going to be messy. You sure you want law enforcement involved?" "He assaulted a customer. That customer happened to be me. But what if it hadn't been? What if it had been someone who couldn't fight back?" "Fair point. I'll contact Atlanta PD in the morning." "Thank you." I looked at my staff again. At their faces, at their trust, at their belief that I'd do the right thing. "One more thing," I said. "I need to know if Victor did this to anyone else. Any other customers? Any other staff? I need the truth." Slowly, hands started raising. Maria, he screamed at a customer for sending back overcooked steak. Called her too stupid to appreciate proper meat. Carlos, he threw a plate at me last month. Hit my shoulder. Said I was too slow. Elena, the hostess, he told a gay couple they couldn't hold hands at their table. Said it made other guests uncomfortable. Leo, a line cook, he called my accent unprofessional. Told me to sound more American or find work at a taqueria. 7 more stories. 7 more instances of cruelty. I documented everything. Names, dates, details. By the time we finished, it was past midnight. The coffee shop was closing. My coffee had gone cold hours ago. Tomorrow, I said, we're implementing new policies, an anonymous reporting system, monthly staff meetings where I'm present, quarterly culture audits, and every manager undergoes sensitivity training or they're terminated. No exceptions. What about tonight? Julian asked. What about the restaurant? We reopen Friday. New management. You're the interim GM until we find someone permanent. Me? He looked stunned. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the job. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Good. Now, everyone go home. Get sleep. We rebuild tomorrow. I drove home alone. My shirt was still damp, my jeans uncomfortable. My phone kept buzzing with messages. The story was already leaking. Someone, probably a guest, had posted on social media the video of the kitchen staff walking out, the lights going dark, my confrontation with Victor. By morning, it would be everywhere. I was right. Friday morning, my phone had 127 missed calls. The restaurant's Instagram had 50,000 new followers. The hashtag T-shirt CEO was trending locally. News stations wanted interviews. Food bloggers wanted statements. Yelp was flooded with reviews, both supportive and critical. Finally, a restaurant owner with integrity. This was unprofessional. He disrupted everyone's evening. Victor deserved it. I was there. I saw everything. Blackwood is a hero. Blackwood is a vindictive billionaire. I ignored most of it, focused on the work. Ava's forensic audit confirmed Julian's suspicion. Victor had stolen $34,700 over 5 months. The evidence was damning: fake reservation names, deposits that disappeared, cash transactions with no record. We filed a police report Friday afternoon. Detective Miles, 12 years with Atlanta PD's white-collar crime unit, took our statement. This is straightforward theft, he said, reviewing the documents, plus the assault captured on camera. We'll issue a warrant. Victor was arrested Saturday morning at his apartment in Buckhead. The news crews caught it on camera, him being led out in handcuffs, his face red with anger and humiliation. Sunday, Serafina Vance posted an apology on Instagram. I was wrong. I participated in something cruel and classist. I should have stood up for the customer. Instead, I benefited from his mistreatment. I'm deeply sorry. I'm also donating $50,000 to hospitality worker advocacy programs. It was PR, obviously, but at least it was something. Monday, we reopened. With Julian as GM. With new policies. With a line out the door of people who wanted to see the restaurant where the owner shut everything down. Reservations booked solid for 3 months. Tuesday, the James Beard Foundation called, wanted to interview me about restaurant culture and discrimination in fine dining. Wednesday, Victor's lawyer called Ava, wanted to settle. Victor would plead guilty to theft and assault, would pay restitution, would accept a permanent ban from our restaurant group. We accepted. Thursday, 1 week after the incident, I visited the restaurant again. In a suit this time, as the owner publicly. The staff applauded when I walked in. Customers took photos. Julian gave me a tour of the new systems he'd implemented. Comment cards at every table, he explained, anonymous. Go straight to you, not to management. Also installed new security cameras with audio. And we're doing monthly town halls. Perfect, I said. I sat at table 12, the same table. Ordered the same burrata appetizer. This time, the server, Carlos, now promoted to senior server, treated me like royalty. But I watched him treat the couple at table 6 the same way, and the family at table 9, and the solo diner at table 3. Everyone got the same respect, the same care, the same dignity. That's when I knew he'd gotten it right. 3 months later, the story had faded from the news cycle. Victor had been sentenced to 6 months in jail and 2 years probation. Had to pay back the stolen money plus damages. His name was mud in the hospitality industry. Serafina Vance came back, made a reservation under her real name, brought a smaller entourage, tipped 40%. Julian thrived as GM. We made the position permanent, gave him a significant raise. And me? I kept doing my undercover visits every month. Different restaurant, different outfit, same purpose. Because the truth is, you never really know how people treat others until you're the one being treated poorly. You never really understand power until you pretend not to have it. And you never really appreciate good people until you've seen what bad people can do when no one's watching. That night, when Victor poured water on my chest and called me nobody, he actually taught me something crucial. He taught me that the way you treat people when you think they can't fight back reveals everything about who you truly are. And I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just turn off the lights and walk away. Because dignity isn't about how much money you have or your status or your fame. It's about treating every single person at every single table like they absolutely matter. Even the ones in t-shirts. So, what do you think? Have you ever been underestimated or treated like you were nobody? I'd really love to hear your stories in the comments below.